Imagine being told you're worthless, mocked, and humiliated in front of hundreds of soldiers, only to reveal something so shocking it brings a decorated captain to his knees. This is not just a story, it's a lesson about strength, secrets, and the truth hidden beneath scars. Before we dive into this jaw-dropping tale, make sure you hit that subscribe button because what you're about to hear will leave you speechless. Now let's begin. It was supposed to be a fresh start. For months, Alyssa Morgan, a quiet woman in her late 20s, had been trying to escape her past. She had joined the civilian support staff at Fort Branson, one of the most elite U.S. Army camps, after leaving behind years of pain, betrayal, and a world that nearly destroyed her. She wasn't there to fight. She wasn't there to prove anything. She just wanted peace, doing laundry for soldiers, serving meals in the mess hall, cleaning up after drills. But peace is a luxury no one gets for long in a place where pride, ego, and hierarchy run deep. From the moment she walked into the camp, people whispered. She didn't look like she belonged, thin but toned, moving with a quiet confidence that unsettled some of the toughest men there. Rumors spread fast. Who was she? Why did she keep to herself? Why did her eyes scan exits like she was always on alert? The bullying started small, a few jokes from soldiers at the chow line, some mocking laughter when she lifted heavy supply boxes without asking for help. But then came the real humiliation. One hot afternoon during a major drill, a group of off-duty soldiers led by Sergeant Kyle Drayton, a cocky man who loved power games, cornered her near the equipment shed. "Hey, sweetheart," Kyle sneered, towering over her. "This isn't a place for girls who can't cut it. You think because you can carry a box you belong here?" His buddies laughed, circling like vultures. Alyssa stayed calm, her hands gripping the strap of her bag, her expression unreadable. "I'm just here to work," she said evenly, trying to leave. But Kyle wasn't done. "No, you're done. Pack your stuff and leave. We don't need freeloaders pretending to be part of us." When she didn't move, he grabbed her arm roughly. That was his first mistake. Alyssa's eyes flickered for a split second, cold, lethal, but she didn't fight back. Not yet. Instead, she stepped back and said quietly, "Let go." The soldiers laughed harder. "What are you gonna do?" Kyle taunted. "Cry?" The entire confrontation was loud enough to draw a crowd. Soon, dozens of soldiers watched as Kyle shoved her toward the gate. "Get out of here before I make you," he barked. Alyssa stood there, breathing slowly, her mind racing. She could end this in 2 moves. But no, not yet. She needed to keep her cover. But then, as the laughter rose and someone actually spat near her boots, something inside her snapped. She reached up, unzipped her jacket, and shrugged it off, revealing her arm. And that was when the world stopped. Because etched into her skin was a tattoo no ordinary person would have. A tattoo every elite soldier recognized instantly. A mark, reserved for one unit, Task Force Phantom, Ghost Division. The deadliest, most secretive special operations unit in the world. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kyle froze, his hand midair. And then, before anyone could speak, a voice roared from behind. "Stand down!" Everyone turned. Captain Marcus Steele, a battle-hardened officer known for being ruthless, was striding forward, and when his eyes landed on Alyssa's tattoo, his face turned pale. He stopped dead in his tracks. That's not possible," he whispered. "It can't be you." Whispers swept through the camp like wildfire. Soldiers stared in stunned silence as Marcus approached slowly. His eyes locked on Alyssa as if he'd seen a ghost. "Morgan?" he said, his voice trembling slightly, a tone no one had ever heard from the legendary captain. Alyssa didn't flinch. "Captain Steele," she replied coolly, her voice carrying years of unspoken history. Kyle stepped back, confused. "Wait, you know her?" Marcus turned on him with a glare so sharp Kyle nearly stumbled. "You idiot," Marcus growled, his fists clenching. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" But Kyle had no time to answer because Marcus turned back to Alyssa, his face etched with something between awe and guilt. "We thought you were dead," he said quietly. Alyssa's jaw tightened. "I was. At least to all of you." And just like that, the ground shifted beneath everyone's feet. Alyssa wasn't just some random civilian worker. She was Ghost 7, the most feared and respected operative in Task Force Phantom. 3 years ago, her team had gone dark during a Black Ops mission in Eastern Europe. Everyone believed she'd been killed when an airstrike obliterated their extraction point. But here she was, alive, and not happy. The soldiers around them exchanged stunned glances, whispers escalating into disbelief. Some even backed away, as if her presence was dangerous, and it was. Because Alyssa wasn't just a soldier. She was the kind of operative that didn't exist on paper. The kind who could dismantle an entire camp with her bare hands if she wanted to. Marcus studied her, guilt shadowing his face. He remembered the mission, the betrayal, the ambush. He remembered leaving her behind. And now, seeing her here, wearing a simple staff uniform was like a knife to the gut. "Why are you here?" he asked finally, his voice low. Alyssa held his gaze, and for the first time, emotion cracked her calm mask. Rage, grief, something deeper. "Because someone in this camp sold us out," she said. The words hit like a bomb. Soldiers stiffened. Even Kyle stopped breathing. That mission wasn't a failure. It was a setup. The camp fell silent except for the pounding of hearts. "And whoever betrayed us," she continued, her voice dropping to steel, "is still here." Marcus pulled Alyssa into his office, locking the door behind them as the entire camp buzzed outside like a hornet's nest. He poured whiskey into 2 glasses with shaking hands, but Alyssa didn't touch hers. She stood by the window, scanning the perimeter. Old habits die hard. "Start talking," Marcus said, his voice firm now. Alyssa turned, eyes like ice. 3 years ago, Ghost Division went into Kravik under your orders. We were compromised before we even hit the ground. Someone leaked our coordinates." Marcus clenched his jaw. "I know. I've spent every day since trying to find out who." Alyssa stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. And nothing," Marcus admitted. "But if you're here, that means you know something I don't." Alyssa pulled a flash drive from her pocket and dropped it on his desk. "Encrypted files, intercepts. They point to someone in this camp, a high-ranking officer." Marcus stared at it, then at her. "You think it's one of mine?" "I don't think," Alyssa said coldly. "I know." And that was when the door burst open. Kyle stood there, panting. "Captain, sir, there's a problem. Big one." Before Marcus could react, alarms blared across the camp. Soldiers scrambled. Vehicles roared to life, a breach in the north perimeter. Marcus grabbed his rifle, Alyssa already moving with deadly precision. They sprinted outside, and that's, when Alyssa saw it, a convoy of black SUVs tearing toward the gates. Not insurgents. Not random attackers. These were professionals, and they weren't here for the camp. They were here for her. "Get her out of here," Marcus barked, but Alyssa didn't need saving. In a blur, she was on the move, disarming. A soldier grabbing his weapon and firing precise bursts that blew out the lead SUV's tires. Chaos erupted. Explosions lit up the night. Soldiers ducked for cover as Alyssa moved like a phantom, a one-woman army unleashing fury. But in the chaos, she saw him, the driver of the second SUV. A face she'd never forget. The traitor, her former teammate, Callan Briggs. The night turned into hellfire. Alyssa chased the fleeing SUVs through smoke and gunfire, Marcus at her side. Every instinct screamed this was the moment to end 3 years of nightmares. They cornered the last SUV near the fuel depot, flames painting the night in blood-red hues. Callan stepped out slowly, hands raised, smirking like the devil himself. "Hello, Seven," he drawled. Alyssa's grip on her rifle tightened, her breath steady. "Why?" she demanded. "Why sell us out?" Callan chuckled. "You think small, Morgan. This isn't betrayal. This is evolution. The highest bidder wins, and guess what? It wasn't Uncle Sam." Rage burned in her veins, but Alyssa didn't move, not yet, because something didn't add up. And then she saw it, the shadow behind Callan. Another figure, General Harrington, the camp commander, the man everyone trusted. He stepped forward, clapping slowly, his face cold. "Well done, Morgan," Harrington said. "You were supposed to die. You just don't know when to quit." Marcus stiffened, realization dawning. Too late. This wasn't just Callan. This was an inside job at the highest level, and now they were both targets. "End this," Harrington ordered. Callan raised his gun. But before he could fire, Alyssa moved, faster than anyone could track. One shot, precise and merciless. Callan dropped. Then she turned her wrath on Harrington. What followed was chaos, a brutal, close-quarters fight that left Harrington broken and Alyssa standing over him, chest heaving, eyes blazing with a fury no one would ever forget. By dawn, it was over. The traitors were dead. The camp was in ruins. And Alyssa? She stood in the rising sun, bloodied but unbroken, a ghost who had returned for justice. Marcus approached slowly, his voice hoarse. "What now?" Alyssa looked at him, a shadow of a smile on her lips. "Now, I disappear." And with that, she walked away, leaving behind a camp that would never speak of this night, a legend reborn in silence.